All right. And Wendy, I'm going to jump over to start sharing my screen. I think we'll
Good.
definitely have more people keep joining, but I'm going to go
Yeah.
ahead and get us started here. Okay. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Shyla Glavin. I am with IAP2 USA. I am the training manager. We are all happy that you're able to join us on this Thursday afternoon. Um, we today have the privilege and honor of welcoming Brady Porterfield-Finn with the City of Arvada in Colorado. Um, our,
Second.
web- our webinar today is leading heart-centered engagement. So really meaningful and impactful work that Brady will be sharing with you all today. But before I get started, I do want to share a few things. And thank our sponsor, Granicus. I'm sure if you have joined an IAP2 USA webinar before, you have heard me speak and talk about Granicus and the great things that they are doing. Granicus is the global leader in customer engagement and experience technology and services for the public sector, now powering almost 30 billion digital interactions globally each year and connecting over 500,000 government professionals with 300 million opt-in subscribers. Granicus is proud to serve as a critical strategic partner to governments as they work to deliver equitable and secure government experiences. Um, there is more information on Granicus if you want to visit that link on this slide to a little YouTube video on them. And I'm also going to launch a poll here in just a minute if you would like to receive more information from Granicus directly. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to launch that poll here. And it's just real quick, one question. If you're interested in receiving more information, click yes. And if not, go ahead and say no, not at this time. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hand it over to Wendy. So welcome Wendy Lowe as well today.
Well, hello, everyone. I was reflecting this morning on the positioning of this particular webinar in the year as we move into the time of year when many cultural traditions have celebrations of gratitude as well as of giving. And it really struck me as how appropriate this particular webinar is. Brady gave it for the IP2 Colorado chapter in June, I believe. And I was so moved by it that I immediately said, "Oh, you should do this for USA as well." And so we got the ball rolling. I don't want to talk any more than that, but to express gratitude to you for choosing to participate today, because I think this is really important things for us to think about as practitioners working to engage our communities. Um, we would like to give you a chance to introduce yourself. We're going to invite you to do that in the chat by putting your name, where you're participating from, and maybe just why you chose to participate in this particular webinar. And with that, I want to turn it over to Brady Porterfield-Finn and let him have the floor for a presentation that we dry ran on Monday, and it was every bit as good as it was in June. So take it away, Brady.
Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Shyla, for getting us all set up. Hello, everyone. Thanks for spending what might be your lunch hour with us here. I know I protect that time dearly, so for you to share it with me means a lot. So thank you for being willing to do that. My name is Brady Porterfield-Finn. I lead neighborhood engagement for the City of Arvada, and we are just northwest of Colorado. And what I'm going to share with you today here is how I lead heart-centered engagement through our Snow Buddies program. And so here's a little bit about me. These are some of the layers and identities that I bring to each of the interactions I lead. I'm a father, a
Brady,
husband,
I'm not
brother.
seeing your slides at the moment.
Okay,
I'm
let me double check that.
sorry to interrupt you.
I'm going to stop sharing real quick and then try again.
Good idea.
All right, how about now?
Yeah, but it's not in slide mode yet. There we
Okay,
go. There we go.
that
All
look
right.
better? Okay.
Now you can go. Yeah.
All right, there's my family. As I'm describing being a father now, it will make a little more sense. There's my little one on the bottom. She's 3.5, and my youngest is turning 1 in just a couple weeks on December 3rd. So very exciting times at home, lots of evolution and perspective shifting for me becoming a parent. I'm also hard of hearing and deaf, so my headset is always with me. Very important for me to get clear audio into my ears so that I can make sense of what you're sharing with me. I'm also a relationship builder. This is something I really take seriously in my work life, of course, but then in my personal life as well. Really appreciate getting to know the life stories of those around me. I'm a basketball player, which is something I've always enjoyed doing, just a really special form of teamwork and such an international game. It's fun to play in other places as well. And then I'm a volunteer. So I manage volunteers during my working hours, but I really believe in volunteering as well myself. So volunteering is something I've done most of my life and continue to find new ways to do that. I lead neighborhood engagement. I'm up in the city manager's office. So, working in local government, I've been up here for 3 years now. So, I've been learning really, I think a big learning experience for me has been power. Who has power? Who's willing to share it? How do we share that power with the community? And how do we do that with expectations that lead to success? So, go ahead and put into the chat here some of your layers and identities, some of how you move about the world and how you share that with other people, and think too on how that affects how you're building relationships and how you're mixing in with others as well. And this is a slogan that I have really brought with me each day. It's about the speed of trust from the Reverend Jennifer Bailey. Relationships are built at the speed of trust, and social change happens at the speed of those relationships. So you'll see today how some of the work that I've been able to accomplish has really been done with that speed of trust and change being able to happen when that trust is built and the foundation is laid. So for me, heart-centered community engagement is authentic. It's empathetic, it's meeting people where they are, and it's not expecting anything in return. Sometimes we do have asks. We're looking for feedback. We're looking for input to design processes, to make improvements to quality of life where we're working. But really, just getting to know people, building those relationships without strings attached is a strong way that we can prepare some of those partnerships to be ready when we do have a project or we do need a quick answer on input. We're going to move here into a breakout group, but I want you to reflect on an experience that you felt was heart-centered. Could be from a long time ago, years ago, could be one that you just had yesterday. But think of a time where you really felt like you were in a heart-centered experience. Could have been you leading it or receiving that experience from someone else. And then what resulted from that experience? So our breakout rooms are going now. So let's jump into those and reflect on that heart-centered experience.
I opened them too fast, Brady. Sorry about that. Go ahead and
All
finish
good.
your thoughts. Okay, you ready?
We're ready.
Okay, okay. Oh, I'm having a hard time getting it to sign. There we go. It's not assigning people. I'm so sorry.
Wendy, I can go ahead and do it. How many rooms?
Okay, would you do that for me? We want 7 minutes.
Um,
for the length.
And how many rooms? 10 rooms. Sorry, I'm gonna restart this.
Let's do 12 rooms.
12 rooms.
No,
Okay.
no, no, no. I'm sorry. 9 rooms. Oh, well, whatever. It'll be the right.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. Just a minute. It looks like the breakout rooms, I can't
They're
reset
gonna,
them and until
oh gosh.
five
I'm
five
sorry for the
seconds from
glitch.
now. It's okay. We just have
Yeah,
to wait 5 seconds and then
yeah.
we'll go ahead and I can recreate and get everybody. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and recreate. Okay, we have all the rooms ready to go, and we said 7 minutes.
Yes,
Awesome. I'm gonna
please.
go ahead and open up the
Yes.
Thanks.
rooms. Great. Okay, I think we have most people. Christina, are you
I think
able? Oh, did she go? Christina, no.
Kaylee went into one. We still have Christina and then a couple others,
Oh, she joined. Okay, perfect.
and then
And
two others.
Wendy,
One more.
Oh, Stephen and Grace.
I'm not sure. It's okay if maybe this individual stepped away from their computer, but all the rooms
Okay,
have
Okay.
at least
okay.
2 to 3
It
people.
wasn't letting me assign automatically. And I just couldn't fathom how I was going to assign 37 people.
Oh, yeah, no, that we did not want you to do.
Yeah. So I don't know what that was about.
That's okay.
So, um, in case you're the one that does it the second time,
Yep.
we want the rooms to be the same people
Okay, well then I'm not going to
on the
recreate
round.
them.
Pardon me?
You want them to be the same group?
Yeah, same groups, yeah. And the other thing that might change is how much time, depending on where we are.
That's fine. So I won't
Okay.
recreate these rooms. I'll just make
Yes.
them be. Perfect.
Thank you so much for accepting that on the fly.
No problem.
Thanks,
The
Shyla.
note the note taker's by itself.
Well, I can't, I'm just gonna
12.
leave that. I can't find,
Yeah, that's fine. It's just funny. Poor note takers over there by themselves.
and I
Oh,
actually think that individual is from,
is it from Canada?
yeah, and
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is he, not it? I believe he's from Canada.
it'll just get tricky if with some people that like
Leave.
leave and rejoin or join
Yeah,
or something like
yeah.
that. So,
It's not, I mean, it's not a perfect science. We
right,
just thought that it would be good because they would have already met each other for that second round.
right. Yeah.
Oh, how you feeling, Brady?
Good. Just looking at where people are from and how I can acknowledge some of them when we come back into the group.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's really cool that there's people from Florida and Phoenix in here.
yeah. Boy, it's a lot of really neat people in here, isn't it?
Mhm. So many like-minded backgrounds
Hmm.
and types of work.
We got a new one in the waiting room, I'm gonna admit.
Yeah, I thought oh,
That's interesting.
yeah, I don't know what happened.
She
Did they
disappeared.
drop?
Yeah, maybe she did. Maybe she was there a long time and we didn't see it.
Well, oh, hello, Cheryl.
Hey, Sherelle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Hello.
Hi. I can go. We
I'm
welcome. We are in breakout rooms currently. Um, I can move you to a breakout room for the last 2 minutes. If Brady and Wendy, you want to share what the topic that they're discussing.
Sure.
okay.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We are talking about what heart-centered community engagement looks like, being authentic, empathetic, with no strings attached. And the breakout groups are discussing an experience that they have been through that felt that way, how it made them feel and what resulted from it.
Okay,
Okay, sounds good.
I'm gonna
Looks
move
like I
you.
probably just catch the tail end of it, but nope, no
Yeah.
worries. I don't.
Yeah,
Oh, people
I'll go
coming back.
ahead. I'll go ahead and move you to a room.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Jesse, did you hear that introduction? She's muted.
Hi, sorry, I'm joining late. Is there a breakout room or?
Yeah, they're ending in 1 minute. So
Oh, okay, sorry.
yeah, that's
You can
okay.
hang out with us if you want.
Happy to, happy to.
Great. Well, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. Where are you coming from?
I work in New York City and I do community outreach and engagement for infrastructure projects.
Oh,
Nice.
perfect.
It's a large group of people you're reaching.
Yeah, you're in the right place.
Oh, Wendy, I didn't pay attention to this, but I think they might have a 60-second, like,
Oh, well, it's all right.
yeah, so it may have just, it totals like 8 minutes versus 7,
Yeah.
but it's okay.
I had it all set except for the assignment part because we're waiting to see how many people we really had. Oh, it's 25 seconds. We're good.
Do I need to reshare my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Are you all seeing my screen here?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. Great. Well, thanks for taking some time to get to know some of our fellow attendees and then also reflecting on heart-centered experiences that you have seen in your life. I think it's really cool that in this session today, I was looking through in the chat where some of you are from, people from places where they're not receiving a lot of snow, but the principles applied from today's experience are so much more than just snow shoveling and a volunteer program. So really cool to see so many people from different corners of the country coming together today. So some of my work at the City of Arvada is structured into our neighborhood programs. And so they are in the umbrella of Neighbors Connected. That's what we call all of these programs. And I'll explain a little bit about each one to you. So the Snow Buddies program is the one that we are talking about here today. It is a snow shoveling program that provides a neighbor who is physically unable to shovel, financially unable to pay for snow removal, and is not connected with family, friends, or neighbors nearby. It matches that kind of person with a volunteer who will come do it for them. Ideally, someone who lives just down the street. Sometimes it does happen to be someone who's going to drive 8, 9, 10 miles to get to them. We also have a neighborhood grants program. This runs each spring. This year, we had 45 neighborhoods receive about $25,000 of grant funding, some of them for smaller get togethers to buy food and drinks for their annual block parties, others for little free library type projects, or even putting in a community garden in their neighborhood. So different levels of projects there. And we also have a neighborhood leader network. And that is a group of people that I lead in quarterly meetings and trainings with the city. And anyone can be a neighborhood leader. It's someone who might be an HOA president, could be a metro district representative, could just be someone on the block who's really well connected and passionate about running that group chat, running the Facebook group, getting people together. We also have a block party trailer, and it is very popular. This is a trailer that's full of tables, chairs, yard games, the things that are going to help a neighborhood throw a party without having to fundraise or put in their own family's money for the party. So that block party trailer runs from June through October on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, and it is a very competitive process for people to get their preferred dates. So these are some of the ways that my job is structured and what our neighborhood programs look like. And another layer of context to this work is our epidemic of loneliness that we're currently experiencing. And the former Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, I read his book that I'm showing you here called Together. And for a couple of years, people have been telling me, you should read that book. I think you're going to enjoy it. I think it'll change the way that you approach your work. And I kept saying, yeah, it sounds great. I'll get to it. And when I started reading it, I was putting it down every couple pages just because I had so many ideas coming to mind about what I was seeing, what I was experiencing, and where this loneliness epidemic was affecting the communities that I live and work in. And research from this book shows that the effect of loneliness is equivalent to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. So we're seeing really clearly defined research showing the physical impacts that this is having on cardiovascular disease, on depression, on dementia, premature death. So really taking a toll on people. And it's not just some wondering that people are having about how this is affecting us. And it is affecting all ages. I think there is a misconception that this is just affecting older adults and our elders in the community, but it really is coming all the way down to middle school students, high school students, people in college in their 20s and 30s who are struggling to find places that they fit in. And we know in Colorado that 1 in 5 Coloradans are reporting being lonely. And our Snow Buddies program in Arvada is one of the ways that we can connect with some of these isolated neighbors. We can create emotional and social relationships that go beyond just shoveling snow from their walks.
Can you name the author again? Thanks, Brady.
Yes, Dr. Vivek Murthy. So he was the Surgeon General during the Biden administration. And the book is called Together: The Healing Power of Human Connection in a Sometimes Lonely World. Amazing book. I'll be rereading it at some point with my little kids right now. I don't have a ton of reading time, but it will stay on my bookshelf for a long time. And I wanted to just create some perspective here about how many of our older adults in the US are turning 65 each day. So put your answers into the chat there about just how many people you think are turning 65 each day. Is it 2,000, 7,000, 11,000, or 15,000? And if you answered 11,000, you're correct. It's a lot of people that are entering this demographic. In Colorado, where I am in Jefferson County, we have the highest proportion of older adults of this demographic in the state. And so we're seeing a really big investment across our communities in ways that we can connect with people that are entering this life stage. So we see nearly 1 in 6 Coloradans is an older adult. A lot of them aging in place. Our housing market, just like it is in a lot of places across the country, is really struggling to present affordable options, especially to people who want to downsize, who are stuck aging in place in a larger home and property that they're unable to take care of as they age. And so we need to think about the impacts that this has on people. Then we think locally into our government structure about how this affects our police department, our code enforcement teams that are then tasked with citing someone whose sidewalk has not been shoveled or whose leaves have not been raked, who's got branches falling into their neighbors' yards. But there's an unrealistic expectation for someone who's 87 years old and unable to complete that task. So this is where we think creatively about how we can put solutions together that look out for those vulnerable neighbors and create realistic expectations so they can meet the laws and codes that we've designed. And in Colorado, we do have a 24-hour period. So this is a card here that I created from a neighbor conflict resolution training last year. And we were showing people exactly what the city code was. So it talks about neighbors needing to remove from sidewalk and sidewalk areas snow, ice, slush within 24 hours of any snowfall or ice storm. And so this is word for word what our code looks like. And so that's something we keep in mind when we're designing a program like this. So our Snow Buddies program is providing assistance to those older adults, sometimes younger people with disabilities who are physically unable to remove snow and ice from their walkways and their driveways. And so it really is supporting some of our most vulnerable residents that we have in the community. And it's connecting them with really caring volunteers. Some of my favorite community members I've gotten to meet, even people I hang out with sometimes on the weekend. And these are people that are building new relationships, sometimes across generations. And that's a spot where we see a lot of disconnect and a lot of that isolation and loneliness in neighborhoods where someone's been living 30, 40, 50 years. Maybe their partner passes, their kids move on, some of the original neighbors that they had and those friends, same thing happens. They pass, they move into independent living or some type of assisted living. And then if you're one of the last ones on that block, it's, I think, easier to withdraw and to become isolated. You have less in common with those younger, newer neighbors. So this is a program that's introducing people, encouraging them to knock on each other's doors and really get to know who that person is beyond just your snow shovel. And I have a video here that our media services team at the city put together. So I'm going to play this here for you to show from our volunteer perspective what this program is like for them.
Oh, Brady,
Brady can't hear it.
You can't hear the audio?
No, sorry.
Okay.
I think you'll just have to do the same
Fix it
thing.
the way you did before.
Yeah.
Okay. I am not the most tech savvy person, but we'll see how I can do here under pressure. All right, let's try again.
Yay.
You hearing it there?
So the Snow Buddies
Yes.
program is really a service that we provide as a city to connect neighbors, Arvada residents who are older or living with disabilities with volunteers that are wanting to shovel their sidewalks and part of their driveway.
I've done a lot of different volunteering, and this one is it's one of the most rewarding because, you know, you're working with an individual or a group of people that, again, can't do it themselves, and they appreciate it so much, and you really feel that, you know, when they talk to you or you text with them about, you know, coming out and stuff. You can tell how much they appreciate it, and, you know, that's a really rewarding experience, so I hope that everyone gets some of that.
Volunteers have 24 hours after snowfall ends to get over to their buddy's property and to shovel their sidewalks and enough of their driveway for one car to get out. And volunteers are committed to shoveling for their buddies for the full duration of the winter.
I'm part of the Snow Buddies program in Arvada. I just come out here with my parents and my brother, and we go and help shovel a couple of driveways every time it snows. I do it for a couple of reasons. I do it to help the community. I mean, I know some of these people have a hard time shoveling their driveway themselves, and so to be able to come out here and help them is great.
So from all the neighborhood programs that I manage, I think this one is the most heartwarming. For me, it's the most exciting to see the volunteers get to know their buddies year after year. Some of these volunteers have the same buddies, so they're able to have a continuous relationship with that neighbor and get to know them.
In terms of volunteering, it's really not that much time overall, you know, like it's just when it snows. I've done it at a couple of different houses that I've lived at for a lot of different people. You know, it's overall, it's not a huge commitment. This is something that I'm able to do, but without sort of taking up too much of my time. So it's one that I kind of have kept coming back to because, you know, again, it's as rewarding as it is, it's really awesome to do.
So those are, in the words of our volunteers, why this program's meaningful to them, why they continue volunteering. That video shows the range too of what our volunteers look like. We have people shoveling by themselves. We have families and kids that are shoveling together. So really cool way to promote that civic service and volunteering and what looking out for neighbors means with our youth as well. And our program last year, these are the stats from our winter 2024-2025 season. We ended up with more than 400 active participants, which was a record. This Snow Buddies program was created 20 years ago. And in the past few years since I've been here, the program has tripled. So we've seen amazing growth and really cool investment into this work. We ended up with 140 volunteers that were matched across 232 different buddies. And the reason that number looks odd is because some of these volunteers are shoveling for 2, 3, 4 houses. So they have multiple buddies. And one of them named George, who's in a photo coming up, he shovels for 7 different houses. So he's a retired geologist who really looks out for his neighbors. He calls them his clients that he's shoveling for. And he's going to be nominated locally for a Senior Hero Award from the county coming up. But someone whose buddies I hear from often. They're calling me, telling me that he's an angel, he's a hero, he's someone that they are so lucky to have in their lives. So really cool volunteers in this program. And last year I had 4 buddies that were stuck on the wait list. The way that I match buddies is based on proximity. So the volunteers, when they sign up, they share if they are wanting to walk to get to their buddy, if they're willing to drive 1 mile, 5 miles, or up to 10. And so that's how I match people. So it's not based on the time you submit your application. It's based on where the volunteers live and how willing they are to travel to get there. So we ended up with 30 surplus volunteers at the end of last season who were not matched with anyone. But based on where they lived in their neighborhood, they were ready to serve someone if needed. And the volunteers, David is the one in the plaid shirt here. David created a group text so that the volunteers could coordinate backup support with each other. If someone's going snowboarding for the weekend, if they're sick, if they're traveling for the holidays, they often stress about how their buddy is going to be taken care of. So organically, they have, in their own way, created a heart-centered solution to support each other. So they'll trade buddies for the weekend. And that was such a cool thing to see that they created that themselves. And then a way that volunteer retention has really grown is by organizing social gatherings for the volunteers. In a program like this, they're siloed, they're doing their work by themselves. So it can feel like a little bit of an independent project. So I started a pizza party a couple years ago at a local restaurant called Randy's. It's been family owned for 60 years. So I knew it was a place where people would enjoy coming to. They rented out their back room to us. And we've had 50 people there each year eating pizza, receiving a new beanie. So this is another way that I try to entice volunteers to come back. Each year I've created a new beanie for them and made this almost a collector's item that they look forward to. And this year the beanie is black and white. So it's slick, looks pretty cool, pretty hip. And I got a volunteer to help me design that one. So I start the year with a pizza party in October. I end the winter with an ice cream social in May or June. And it's been a really nice way to bring people together, to introduce volunteers to each other. I do have an ulterior motive. I'm hoping that 2 volunteers meet through these parties and end up getting married. That would be a really nice story to tell. But it's been really cool to see the volunteers connect. They're such like-minded people. They're so willing to look out for their neighbors. And this is a visual representation of the program growth. So we've seen that as our volunteer base grows, the number of residents that we can serve is growing as well. So seeing that capacity get really close to 250 residents served. And really it's households. These households sometimes are 2, 3, 4 people within them. So the actual number of residents served would be much greater than that. But this year, the Snow Buddies program is a portion of my job. And so I'm capping the program at 250. Right now, as of this morning, we have 186 people matched. And that's before we've even had our first snowfall here in Arvada. We've had a dry winter so far. But this is really what the program has been able to accomplish in the past few years. This is George, who I mentioned. We ran some marketing telling people to be like George, really encouraging them to look out for their neighbors. And you saw earlier Jeremy and Derek sharing in our video, they feel this sense of fulfillment and pride. They're developing relationships, friendships with these neighbors. They get to be matched with the same buddy year after year if they'd like to. And they're receiving these custom designed beanies. It's a very small way that the city can use our budget and show them that this is important. Here is something that we want to give to you, and we want to thank you for what you are doing. We have these social events that are really making an impact. And then this year, I was able to connect with a group called Archwell Health. They're a nationwide group. They just opened up a clinic. They're doing 65 plus older adult medical care. And they were willing to sponsor our ice cream social and buy 15 new snow shovels. So I was able to give out those shovels at our pizza party in October and found a community partner who believed just as much in our program as we do. And that was a really cool private-public partnership that was new for me. And thinking on finding new volunteers, this is always such a challenge for those of us that are running volunteer programs, especially with the economy being as tight as it is right now. People who do have spare time might be looking for part-time jobs instead of volunteering. So trying to think on who volunteers are, where we can reach them. We have our general promotional vehicles that most cities and most agencies have. We have our social media posts, digital media going out, newsletters. But for us in Arvada, we have a paper magazine that goes out bi-monthly. And this is our highest rated source of trusted information. So the community in our community survey tells us that if it's in the Arvada report, they believe it. And this has been a really effective way that we have promoted volunteering with this program. And then thinking on strategic targeted recruitment, I've been putting up flyers in churches, in coffee shops, in libraries, in gyms, thinking on where active people who are doing snow shoveling, where are they also going to be? And when I look at my map, which is behind me here, I do a lot of hand matching on my map. And I'm also able to see on this map where the schools are. And so I have really strong relationships with our local schools. And if I have a couple buddies that are left on the wait list and I don't have volunteers in the area, I'll go straight to that school. I'll ask them, do you have a newsletter coming out this Friday? Do you have a place where I can pitch to the parents and the families at their meeting? Are there ways where I could put this need out to your school community and that can be more efficient? And then there's a postcard here shown on the left of this slide. We mailed 6,600 of these postcards out, and I got about 50 volunteers back from that push, which that number doesn't sound great. If you're running the math, 6,600 to 50 probably doesn't seem like a great investment, but that is what led to a surplus on the eastern side of our city. And so I highlighted in this postcard very specific chunks of neighborhoods that needed volunteers. And so when neighbors received this postcard, they didn't think this is just something everyone in the city is getting. I'm going to throw this straight in the recycling bin. This is something that's clearly needed right around the corner from me. These are neighbors that are struggling, and this is a way that I can give back. So we ran that postcard campaign last year, and I'm still getting people who, as they sign up to volunteer, the reason that they heard about our program was from that postcard. So it's either stuck on their fridge or stuck in their mind. And either way, that's a great thing for our program. So these are some of the layers that we peel back when we're thinking of heart-centered engagement in Arvada. So the relationships for me, they come first. I know, especially if you're working in a sales-driven role where the numbers are everything, this can be harder to prioritize. But I've found when the relationships come first, when you're truly getting to know the people you're working with and you spend the time to care about them, the work, when it does come second, will come so much faster. Engaging with people is always how I practice community engagement. I never want to do community engagement to people. That it doesn't feel right when we're coming down at them or when we're coming from a place of expectation and entitlement for the feedback that we need to push our processes forward. Addressing the whole person. This is why I shared earlier some of my layers and my identities. I know that when I share as much of who I am as I'm comfortable sharing, that other people reciprocate that. And building trust can go so much faster when there is that shared feeling of who we are. Meeting people where they are, always an important one. With disabilities, of course, an important one. I've been trying to show my toddler that I need to see her mouth. I need to see where the words and then where the sound is coming from. Otherwise, it's very hard for me to have a conversation with her if I can't follow the sound. But meeting people where they are in the community, trying to find volunteers where they're going to, meeting our neighbors that are vulnerable, meeting them where they are to create realistic expectations, and also cultural awareness and cultural sensitivity. So trying to connect with people and making sure that we're looking at cultural holidays. Are we planning our engagement sessions and our opportunities for people to connect? Are we planning those with these days in mind? Because if not, we are closing ourselves off from chunks of people who would like to be involved or who have the opportunity to be involved with us. And then I did have a new project that popped up in between when I presented this to the Colorado chapter back in May and now. So I wanted to share this with you as well. It's called Solving Otis and Nolan Street. A coworker and I were playing detective, and that's why we named it, what the street names were. But one of our coworkers who runs a visitor center, she received a phone call from the neighbor whose house is back in the distance below the clouds. And this woman is almost 90 years old and shared that for the past decade, she had seen her neighbor's backyard falling apart into disrepair. And it was a real eyesore for her. She called the city trying to figure out a way where she could see a solution through without getting the neighbor in trouble. So she was coming at it from a very thoughtful approach as well. And so we decided to divert that call from our code enforcement team because their caseload was already full and think creatively on solutions for how the connections and relationships I've built might be able to bring a solution that was not an enforcement approach. So my coworker Cindy and I, she just retired last week. I miss her dearly already. We went with a case management style approach. So Cindy connected with the woman who was almost 90. They talked over the phone. And Cindy knew that emailing, texting, working online with this person was a less likely outcome given her age and her tech skills. And then I went into a case management style with the property owner herself. And she's 57. And so she and I began texting, calling, and created a good relationship to work from. I thought through my community partners, who are the people I trust, who are the people with access to volunteers, who are the community partners that I know would respond well to this. And I thought through a church that I've been playing basketball at. I was invited to meet with their missions director, talk about how some of their church attendees might become volunteers in the work I'm doing, and began playing basketball with that church and their staff shortly after. I played over there yesterday, so it's been a really fun way to stay connected and a new way to meet residents where they are, just mixing in with them there. And once we found a Bible study group that lived near this neighbor that was willing to take on the volunteer project, I went to Home Depot, which is a comfortable place for me. That was my first job. I worked in the Home Depot garden section for a few summers while I was in college. And that was a place, I think, where I began to build relationships. As I look back on it now, those customers, I spent a lot of time with them learning what was dying in their garden, what was not working, what kind of animals were eating through their plants. But I went to Home Depot and I put together a supply bin so that these volunteers could get off of their shifts at work, go straight to the house and not have to worry about who's bringing rakes, who's bringing gloves, who's bringing the leaf collecting bags. They could just get the work done. So here's the final product. 9 volunteers from this Bible study group were able to make this happen. And so their leader was very grateful. And that's, I think, a really cool thing about volunteers. They're often thanking you for the opportunity to give back to someone else. And you'll see that in the next slide here. But they were so excited to make this happen for a neighbor who was not able to do this herself. And she had back pain and allergies and reasons why she was unable to take care of the property. And the deepest reason that I found out from connecting with her was that her ex-husband was the green thumb in the family. And when that relationship fell apart 8 years ago, so did the backyard. So this was not something she wanted to happen. It was an unfortunate side effect of that relationship falling apart. And so cool that these volunteers could give her a fresh start. And as I mentioned, playing basketball was what helped to open the doors to collaborating with that church. Not a member of that church or any church, rather, but just a place where I was open to building relationships with community members and always building a foundation of trust, and was able to quickly call the Bible study leader over there who oversees dozens of them across the city and quickly get to work on what turned into 2 hours of work here from this group of volunteers that made up for 8 years of neglect. And then thinking internally, how can we make this manageable for those volunteers? We had our parks team swing by the next morning, scoop up all of these bags, organic waste only, so that it could go to the parks dumpster. And they were able to just quickly throw this in a truck. So didn't take additional coordinating from the volunteers themselves or from me to find a truck and to spend taxpayer funding on that part of it. We're able to just quickly grab a truck and staff workers that we already had on the clock, use their staff time and their salary time, of course, for part of this project. But it created a fresh start for all of the neighbors involved. And we also gave the property owner some warm handoffs to local nonprofits. And for friends on the call from Aurora and from Denver, you might have heard of Brothers Redevelopment Inc. And that's a place where this neighbor was connected to, as well as A Little Help. A Little Help is a nonprofit here in Colorado that's been for 20 years providing, just as they're named, a little help to older adults who need that support. So trying to think of future ways too that this neighbor can stay on top of it with support from the community, so that it can stay out of our code enforcement situation and it can stay off their caseload, and it can lead her to be in control of that. So I'll give you a minute here to read some of the feedback. I find when the community shares their words, it's much more powerful. So as you finish reading that up there, I think my favorite part reflecting on this project was that everyone involved cried. I cried, Cindy, my coworker, she cried, the neighbors involved, both of them, in the front and the back, they cried at how grateful they were to see the solution come through. And so just a really cool project to be involved with, and really, I think, an example of what heart-centered community engagement can lead to when trust is established and you can work quickly. The change that we want to see can move quickly with the speed of those relationships. So those were some of the takeaways. We got to build trust with 15 of those neighbors. We ended up saving the city funding on what would have turned into a code enforcement case, which would have had multiple trips to the property, inspections, and follow-up citations, given that the neighbor herself was unable to solve it. We built strong relationships and saw how those can open doors to collaboration. And thinking a little more on how can you, where you are with the work you're doing, meet the community where they are. So thinking, I think we've got a voicemail that's being left. All right, I think we're good. I wanted to open it up to questions from you all and to think on what you've seen today and how it looks in your community. What questions do you have for me?
Brady, we have one question that came in on the chat, and that was, how do you manage safety with strangers and the risk of lawsuits?
Yes, that's a great question. We added background checks to our program this year. So for the past couple of years I'd been running the program, I had seen and had that same hesitation of, it's great that these volunteers are wanting to do this. How do I trust and ensure that they're all doing it for the right reasons? And we've seen elder abuse and scams happening. So we have background checks that were implemented this year. I only lost a few volunteers who said absolutely not. I don't think that's appropriate, asking for a background check to shovel snow. And I said, okay, thank you. Let me know if you change your mind, and we'll be here to welcome you back. But the background checks have gone well. It is a cost for the city, but it's such a small cost compared to what could be, as you mentioned, a lawsuit. So people were very understanding that this improves safety for everyone involved, because you don't know who you're shoveling snow for either. So we would want to make sure that everyone there involved is safe. And then we do have the volunteers and the buddies themselves sign off on waivers of liability. So they're releasing that liability. They're entering into a good faith arrangement where if there is an accident on the property, no parties are responsible. And that part of it is cleared. That gives people reassurance going into the experience.
We have one more question, and then I think we're going to, okay, two more questions, and we want to move into a final breakout room. I'm
Okay.
wondering the relationship or balance between heart-centered engagement and the lofty grant numbers. Any thoughts on heart-centered engagement while meeting larger metrics?
I don't know if I totally understand the question. I'm seeing it in the chat here.
Yeah. Well,
Emily, if you come off mute for a second, do you want to clarify your question?
Yeah, definitely. Hi, Brady. Thank you so much for your presentation and all the meaningful work you're doing. So I work under federal grants that have their own KPIs and requirements, and I'm just wondering if you have thoughts on, in my experience, sometimes that more relational, heart-centered approach can get lost in the drive to meet those larger numbers. So just wondering if you have any thoughts on kind of that balance or contextualizing for other folks on your team the importance of these approaches while also being effective in meeting those larger numbers.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks for clarifying. It reminds me of when I was selling Christmas trees, and the person running the lot didn't think I was selling enough trees, but little did he know I was getting bigger tips because I was developing deeper relationships with the people I was selling the trees to, spending more time with them. And I know that can slow down the process if people are needing you to meet an exact number of community members or an exact number of successful touch points for the grant to be worth it, and those KPIs and all that reporting. I wonder if there's ways to layer in that relationship building. So if it is for me, when I see snow buddies, the recipients calling me, I know that some of those phone calls might take 20 or 30 minutes. So I'll wait until a time when I have more time to call them back rather than rushing through a call. So for you in your grant process, I wonder if there are ways where you can revisit those community members, you can build deeper relationships with them outside of the timeline that the grant reporting is needed for. Can you go back to them? Can you create additional opportunities to engage with them so that you can both make the grant side pleased, and then you can also maintain that trust and that relationship going forward? Kind of a tricky one.
Brady,
Thank you, Brady. That's helpful.
we have a challenge. We have two more questions, and we also are running very tight on time for the breakout. So I want you to choose whether you want to follow up with people or and allow for a short breakout, or whether you want to just continue taking questions.
Let's go through the questions for now, and let's see how much time we have left.
Okay. Do you take into consideration about cultural backgrounds / compatibility of the buddies?
That's not something that I do right now. I haven't had situations where a volunteer has told me that they thought someone was treating them wrong for that reason. I do have situations where a volunteer will tell me next year I don't want to be matched with this person, and the volunteer's experience is always my priority. It's great to get people someone to shovel their snow for the season, but it's more important to keep the volunteer satisfaction in mind there. So I have removed people from the program and unmatched them and given their volunteer a new buddy if the buddies themselves are being too demanding, because they're not supposed to tell the volunteer where to shovel, how to do it, how fast to come to their house. And sometimes we have that problem managing expectations.
So the final question in the chat is, what happens if a volunteer stops going to a person's house and doesn't tell you? does that happen a lot? Is the workload then on you to track down a different volunteer that snow day?
So it does happen. It doesn't happen too often. The responsibility is ultimately on the property owner, and that is something that we have in our application with them when they apply to receive a volunteer, that even if we are unable to provide a volunteer or if the volunteer is unable to provide the service, the responsibility ultimately does fall back on them. And that's something our legal team at the city put into those agreements. I then do quickly work to get that person put back on my map. I try to find them a volunteer as quickly as I can. So that's how we solve for that part. But it does happen. Sometimes the volunteers disappear and I get a call from their buddy and I think, okay, um, Sue Ellen, I thought I had you matched up. Well, your volunteer disappeared. Okay, let's try to figure this out. And we work on it together.
So we are at 56 minutes. So do you think 3-minute
Yeah,
breakout is worth it? Or
I think maybe we stay in here and see if another question pops
yeah,
up.
okay. We can
Does
show them the
anyone?
questions we wanted them to talk about at the very end.
Yeah, and these were what we were going to look at in the breakout group was how can what you learned today be applied in your work life, in your personal life? What can you do to address loneliness and social isolation in your community? Are there ways that you could reach neighbors, community members, even family members that might be disconnected? How can you reach them? And then what are you doing that is heart-centered that others can learn from? And I'll share here my contact info as well. I would love to know what kind of projects you've been working on, challenges you see in your community. I'd love to trade thoughts and ideas with you from what you've learned. So if there are questions that are popping up, we can answer a few more of those. But I'm really grateful that you chose to spend what might be your lunch hour or might be part of your work day with us here today. I'm really cool, special, fun projects that I've been able to work on here at Arvada that I enjoy sharing with other people as well, especially the people coming from warmer places like Phoenix and Florida. I think it's great that you're here. And I think there's so many ways you could apply these principles to raking leaves, to weeding and landscaping on properties, that it doesn't have to look the same to have a similar outcome.
I love this too. I want to just say thank you so much, Brady. I'm here in Austin, Texas, and surprisingly, we did have to shovel snow, and I did that for my older neighbors on my street. I put in the chat earlier that as a native New Yorker, I know like what it takes to shovel snow, and so
Yeah.
I jumped at the chance to to show off my skills a little bit. Um, during the two snowstorms that we had here. But yeah, I totally agree. I think that it can be parlayed into raking leaves or just doing cleaning out the flower beds and in the front yards and that sort of thing for some of our neighbors who just can't do it themselves. And I love
Hmm.
that the story that you told about the neighbor who can see the backyard of her her neighbor there and wanted to do something out of the kindness of her heart and not really as a complaint. And so I think that
Hmm.
that was the key in that relationship there is was that there was neighbors caring for each other. And I
Hmm.
really applaud that. That was really special. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I remember that ice and snowstorm you all had in Texas, that's even a community that's typically not used to that kind of thing. It can really throw people off. So having neighbors that are ready to go to put down the salt and the snow melt can really help.
Yeah, we didn't even have true snow shovels either. It was one of those gravel transfer shovels. It did the job, but yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, you use whatever you have.
Yeah.
Thanks for Heather. Thank you for what you put in the chat there, talking about some of the heat challenges you have in Phoenix and looking out for people with disabilities. I actually have, I'm going to grab it real quick while we still have a minute. In the Together book from Dr. Murthy, he referenced a book called Heat Wave, which has been been my new book that I am so deep into and have all these ideas that I want to run with. But talking about the heat wave in Chicago, I think in 1995, and how a lot of older adults were enclosed and disconnected socially and left to die during that heat wave. So similar challenges, Heather, to what you're mentioning. If you haven't read that book, I would highly recommend it. And you might actually be the expert on that topic to teach me with your work in Phoenix there. But really, yeah, looking out for people who have disabilities and who during these extreme weather events, we need to be checking in on. Otherwise, they're stuck in there by themselves. They're really important work.
Well, Brady, we are 1 minute past the end of the hour, but I wanted to thank you for agreeing to do this again. You're such a genuine and empathetic and kind person that you're a joy to know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I echo what Wendy said. It was a really great presentation. Just
Yeah.
listening and learning. And you really, really are doing meaningful work, and you can tell you have a true passion behind it. So thank you.
Mhm.
And thank you, everyone, for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Please
Thanks,
reach out.
Charlotte.
I want to hear about what you're working on too.
Thank you. Take care.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hit it out of the park.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Isn't he amazing?
Yeah. I was like, there was some tears in there.
I know, I know.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop recording for just a minute.